On this episode of Delivering Marketing Joy, we talk with Evan Carroll about how the little things make a big difference and why he wants to give me a high five. Well, hey there, and welcome to another edition of Delivering Marketing Joy. I am your host, Kirby Hasseman, and I'm very excited this week to have a brand new guest, Evan Carroll, who's a speaker, author, marketer, just a jack of all trades, and he's here joining me today. So, Evan, thanks so much for taking the time.
Well, thanks, Kirby. You know what they say about a jack of all trades? Master of none.
Well, some people say that, not me, right?
Some people say that.
Yeah, right. So, in doing some research about you, Evan, I know that you were the co-author of the book, Blue Goldfish with Stan Phelps. Now, can you tell the audience, there we go, can you tell the audience the overall premise of that book and why you felt the need to write it?
Sure. So, Kirby, technology is my background, it's my training, and I've spent my career helping to figure out technology solutions that make sense for people. And that sounds kind of, nerdy and, propeller head, if you will. However, for me, it's all about how do we start from the experience that we want to create and then put the tools, the systems, the policies, the technology in place to support that.
Yeah.
And so my earliest careers were as a user experience designer. I would spend time figuring out what customers and prospects and even users wanted from a website or a web application, and then figure out how to build it to suit their needs.
Okay.
And I had this aha moment in my career where I realized that we were spending a lot of time on the software and website front figuring out, well, what do the customers want and how do we optimize for that? But what we weren't looking at is we weren't looking at the business as a whole. We weren't looking at customer service. We weren't looking at how do we create a unified experience across an entire company, across all of our touch points. And so I realized I was really and truly at heart a customer experience professional, someone who wanted to solve all of those problems as opposed to just staying in the technology space.
Okay.
However, tech is my background, and so Blue Goldfish is all about how you do those little things that make a big difference, specifically for increasing loyalty, increasing customer advocacy, so word of mouth, but using technology to do it. And so we present what we call the 3 R's. And this is our framework for using technology to improve both profits and profits, as we like to say.
Okay.
Nice play on words there.
Yeah.
The first is relationship. How do we build a deeper relationship with the customer by knowing more about them and then customizing the experience? The second is responsiveness. How do we respond more quickly? And things like Amazon's Mayday button, where you're connected on your tablet within 10 seconds to a support representative. That's increasing responsiveness. And then my favorite, the third R, is readiness. How do we make our organizations more ready to handle our customers' needs? And that's kind of where that harmony comes into place. How do we harmonize that experience across the entire organization such that whenever this customer has a request, we're anticipating that and we're able to serve them in a sometimes even in a proactive way. So that's what Blue Goldfish is all about, and it really solves the problem of let's not use technology for technology's sake. Yeah. Let's actually use it to improve the customer's experience. We started with 300 examples and narrowed it down to the ones that are here in the book. And as a bonus, there is a engagement photo of Evan Carroll and Stan Phelps right there on the back. Right there on the back. Now, I had to stand on an apple box to get my height close enough to stand, and it looked decent in the photo, but you should check that out.
I love it. Well, you've kind of talked high level about the book, which is really good stuff, and I've read several of Stan's books. But let's talk specifics. What are some things, like some takeaways, some tactics that viewers can look at? What are those little things that they can do with technology that could make a difference in growing their business?
Sure. So let's cover some examples.
Okay, awesome.
What I'll do is I'll mention some examples, and then maybe we'll talk about how even a small business owner can do things similar.
Okay.
So the sort of benchmark example in the book, the one that we look to and say, yes, they're doing it right, actually comes from a bank called Westpac. They're the third largest bank in Australia and New Zealand. I, unfortunately, am not a Westpac customer, but if I need an Australian bank account, I know where to go. And what they do is they have what's called the Know Me program. Okay. And so in the Know Me program, for every single customer they have, they look at their millions of transactions they run every month, and they figure out, based upon other people like you, what products they have, and they compare that to what products you have, and using a bunch of really cool analytics they're probably not telling anyone about, it comes up with a next best offer. And so what it's doing is it's saying that customers like Evan need this particular banking product next. Okay. And then they put that in their system such that every phone representative or every teller in person, they know that offer. And they're trained to present that offer to you when you come in and do business with them, or you call them on the phone, or any interaction you have, they're presenting that offer. And so, as marketers, we would be excited if we were getting a 2% conversion rate or a 5% conversion rate. I mean, we're getting promotions and bonuses when we get north of 5%.
Yeah.
But I've always had a problem with those numbers. Because if you think about a 2% or a 5% conversion rate, there's the 98% or the 95%. I call those the annoyed majority.
Yeah, right.
Right? Because we have, with our communications, we've annoyed the crap out of that 98 or 95% in order to get that very small percentage of conversions that we really need.
Right.
And of course, we have to do this at such scale so that those percentages work in our favor.
Right.
So Westpac, they're converting 40% of their next best offers. 40%. And in 1 year, it resulted in $22 million in additional revenue.
Wow.
That's not deposits, that's revenue. So that's a big example of looking at the data you have, using that to figure out what your customer really needs, and then providing that offer to them. It's personalization at its finest.
It feels like, Evan, it's like, I mean, I think as a salesperson, as a marketer, as a business owner, you're looking at that and you're saying, wow, that's great marketing. But I think to your point, what it is you're presenting the customer with an option that actually makes sense to them, so it does help their experience.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the way it comes off, these aren't professional salespeople who are giving you the next offer that the bank has decided to promote that month. They're giving you something that makes sense. So its presentation to you is done in your best interest. Hey, we noticed you had this. Would you mind you be interested in this? You know, or people like you tend to need this next. Can we have a conversation about that? And it flips a switch in the mind of the person who's, you know, on the phone or the teller, because instead of selling to you, all of a sudden they are providing advice.
Yeah.
They're providing counsel. They're doing what's in your best interest, which makes it so much easier to quote unquote sell something if you're doing that with, you know, a customer focus.
That's really cool.
So I mentioned we talk about how you kind of take these examples down to even a small business level. So obviously, when you were preparing for this podcast, you looked into information about me. You probably found more than you would care to know about me. Things that I have written, things that I wish I hadn't written, you know, all sorts of things. My point is that as a small business owner, you can do the very same thing. So there are services like Crystal Knows that what it does is it actually tells you, whenever you're emailing someone, what their personality is like. Really? It gives you tips on how to better interact with them. And so it's Crystal Knows at crystalknows.com. The other interesting one is an app called Charlie. Charlie is a personal assistant app that looks at your calendar, looks at the email addresses of the people on the calendar, and then sends you a report about that person about an hour before your meeting, or 2 hours before your meeting. It looks up that person, it looks at them on LinkedIn, it looks for common connections, looks for things they've shared on Twitter or wherever. It looks for news about their company. And it all may not be perfect and current, but it's enough of a briefing that you have enough information to have a really personal conversation with them. So my point is, while Westpac may be looking on this macro scale to determine how to have that offer ready to go for you, even as a small business owner, you can use tools like Crystal and Charlie to figure out more about the person you're working with, and have a great conversation with them and really relate to them as a person.
That's really, really good, Evan. And I'm going to check out those apps for sure, because it's funny, just as simple as we use the software and it actually tells me what the weather's like when I go to call somebody, and it's something as simple as that can actually help to relate. So going in deeper like that, I think would have a ton of value. So that's great advice. Final question for you. I know that you've had a hand in helping to create the High Five event that a bunch of people I know love and go to. So what are some insights you've gained on working at a great event like that?
Sure. So I started High Five. The first one happened in February of 2014. Wow. And so we're going into year 5 in 2018. And so as of May 1st, we've officially started the planning for next year. Now, kind of dates and things get settled beforehand, but May 1st was our official start date, so we're just out of the chute. High Five is a wonderful event. In fact, High Five is all about bringing together marketers and creatives, because we found that too often those two sides of the coin, they really need to work together, and they don't work together very well. Yeah. And so, in fact, in the cover of every program book we've had since the beginning, this is actually one of our really cool program books here. Nice. We have a quote from designer Von Glitchna that says, "Marketing without design is lifeless, and design without marketing is mute." And our premise is that both of these groups should be working together, and we bring them together, and we have great speakers. So we have 6 keynote speakers. There are 2 days where we have our main conference. The first day is full of workshops, so attendees get to choose from 1 or 2 of 6 half-day workshops. And it's really, really a fun time. And we make sure we have some really great, not talking well today, really great swag for everyone. Yeah. And so I made sure to pull this. This was our program book from 2 years ago. Nice. It came in a nice belly band here, and then, of course, our friends over at Brandfield got us these wonderful notebooks all branded up. The first year, we also did a similar concept where we had this band and then this wonderful system where you had your program book, you had everything right here together. We have a saying that tote bags are prohibited at High Five, because you're often just given so much crap at a conference. We want what we give you to be compact, designed well, meaningful. And if you have to pick up something later, we have a wonderful swag ticket. You can get it later.
I love it.
Danny Rosen loves the swag police cards.
I love it. And anytime we can give Danny a shout out on DMJ, I love it. That's awesome.
Oh, yeah. He took care of us with some nice box hands as well.
Nice. Very cool. Man, you have good swag. Well, cool, dude. I really appreciate it, Evan. Thank you for taking the time. Everybody, you've answered my 3 questions. Everybody gets to ask me 1 question. I don't know if you have a question for me by chance.
I do have a question for you, and that is, are you coming to High Five 2018? Yes or no, right now?
No, I didn't you just say you don't have a date yet?
February 26, 27, and 28.
All right, February 26, 27, 28. I will absolutely try and get it on my calendar, my friend.
Yeah, we'll let you do a baby for the call.
Yeah, no, I actually really, I told you before we started, this is an event that I have heard a bunch of people I know have been to it, and they've all talked about it. You and I both know Bill Petrie, and he enjoyed it, and I think he spoke at it this year.
He did speak this year.
Yeah, so I'm really would like to come down and check it out. So I appreciate the invite.
Yeah, so I'll throw in one more thought. Yeah. Thought about High Five is that you can imagine that folks like me and Stan Phelps and Danny Rosen involved with the event, we're obviously going to make sure that the little details that make a huge difference in an event are all taken care of. Everything from the staging to the experience to the trade show to the food, we leave no detail unturned. And I was speaking with someone just this week, and we were both at an event in Chicago, and she was telling me just how great the event was. And my response to her was, if you think that's great, come to Raleigh and I'll show you great.
I love it.
Leave that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Evan, thank you so much for taking the time. I really appreciate that. And we'll have to do it again sometime, okay?
Awesome. Sounds great, Kirby.
Well, that wraps up this edition of Delivering Marketing Joy. We'll see you next time.